They are relics from an ancient time we will never know. Reminders of our mysterious past we seek to understand.
Your world generally consists of the known, whereas for the archaeological past, it's unfamiliar, it's unknown.
These awesome monuments left by forgotten peoples of long ago will forever tantalize us with the questions they force us to ask. Who built them? Why? And how? And what do these clues from the past tell us about ourselves?
Mysteries, there's no shortage here.
Our ancient past and its mysteries beckons to us from every corner on Earth. Man has established a foothold in the most unlikely locations. From tropical ocean lagoons in the far-off Pacific Ocean to remote cliff tops in Arizona, human existence has left an indelible mark. What knowledge and power did ancient people have to build up entire civilizations in these far-off and often inhospitable places? It is these secrets we seek to unlock for what we think may help us understand our 21st century lives.
It's a detective story. You have to go back and reconstruct what happened based on the little remnants of things that are left behind.
Archaeologists take us on an alluring journey back in time. Chaco Canyon in New Mexico, the Nazca Lines of Peru, and a mysterious ruin in the South Pacific. By revealing to us remnants of things that were once great, these scientists confront some very puzzling mysteries about our past.
If we could step back in time 1,000 years and somehow be secretly watching events, what kind of things could we see?
We're studying things that are incredibly foreign to everything that we know.
As they roam the planet looking for clues to our past, these intrepid time travelers are like their early counterparts, the rogue adventurer archaeologists of the last century, who uncovered for the world our most famous archaeological mysteries. It was often difficult for these explorers to imagine a primitive culture constructing such immense monuments. That was the case for a British mapmaker who happened across a mysterious site off a tiny island in Micronesia in the year 1886.
There are some interesting ruins whose origin is involved in the greatest obscurity. Doubtless there existed here a fortified town inhabited by a folk of superior civilization. Some of the stones are about 10 feet in length and worked into 6 faces, no doubt brought from some civilized country.
It's called Nan Madol, the place between spaces. Here, in this shallow reef of the island of Pohnpei, in Micronesia, are the remnants of what was once a city of stone built entirely on water. Today, we know that the ancient island natives constructed Nan Madol. What we don't know is how they did it. It is one of the world's greatest and least examined archaeological mysteries. The remote island of Pohnpei lies 5,000 miles northeast of Australia, in the middle of the South Pacific. The 30 feet of annual rain that pours down on parts of the island make it one of the wettest places on Earth. Here, more than 1,500 years ago, ancient Pohnpeians took on an immense feat, building a megalithic ceremonial center. They first constructed over 90 small artificial islands by stacking large basalt logs into retaining walls and filling in the massive structures with tons of coral rubble. On top of these islets, they then built temples and noble residences, transforming the lagoon into a floating city connected by canals. It was an opulent place worthy of ancient kings and priests. For an entire millennium, these stone walls echoed with the sounds of elaborate religious rituals, tributes to the rulers and their gods. Today, the temples are silent. But Nan Madol remains a building feat of such magnitude that it continues to bewilder scientists who study it.
Every time I come here, I have things that I need to learn or things that I need to find out more.
Rufino Mauricio is a native of Pohnpei and the first from his country to be trained as an archaeologist. His visit of Nan Madol begins with the best preserved part of the complex, Nan Duas, once an ancient cemetery.
This is the main entrance to the Nan Duas, what I believe to be a tomb complex. The wall is approximately 30 feet high and it's rather thick. As you can see, some of these basalt stones, very dense, are very big. This one itself is probably 12 feet long. There is a larger one on the other side that is about 18 feet long. The basaltic material is very dense, so each of these stones weigh in excess of 1,000 pounds, probably tons.
Rufino and his colleagues have calculated that Nan Madol required the moving and stacking of 825,000 tons of building material. To add to the mystery, the closest source for the basalt used to build Nan Madol lies over 30 miles across water on the other side of the island. The rock face here is unique, composed of naturally shaped columns that can be pried loose. Rufino has challenged a team of island men to test one theory of how the stones of Nan Madol were cut and moved.
These large basalt columns were heated, and then they pried the columns out of this outcrop. When they felt that the stones have been heated, then they tossed the water on the stones.
The cold water cracks the hot basalt prisms loose.
Then they try to separate the individual columns from the outcrop, so they push it right out.
But the more puzzling question is how the ancients moved the quarried stones 30 miles to Nan Madol.
This is a small version of a raft made from bamboo that was probably used to transport these materials.
Bamboo is known for its sturdiness and buoyancy. But will it hold up to the mass of volcanic rock?
These young men here will try to get a small basalt prism, which is about 200-300 pounds, lash it to a pole, and then place it on a bamboo raft to see whether it will float or not.
This is what it takes to quarry and move just a single log of basalt stone. And Nan Madol is made up of hundreds of thousands of these pieces of heavy stone, most of them at least 5 times the weight we see here. A well-known myth offers this solution to the mystery of how the ancients built it, that magicians used supernatural powers to fly the logs in through the air and stack them up. Even a scientist like Rufino Mauricio has a hard time discounting magic.
The blend between magic and science is kind of a very blurry one. What is it meant by the stones were flown from one place to another? We will continue to wonder about this.
One of the more intriguing mysteries of Nan Madol is the legend of an underwater city that lay in the open ocean just beyond the outer edges of the complex. The ancient residents of Nan Madol believed that when they died, their souls swam to this city beneath the ocean surface that existed as a link between life and the afterlife. Amencio Imperium is a state historian and avid scuba diver who enjoys cracking the surface to some of Nan Madol's deeper mysteries.
So you go down to about 40 feet, then you will see this huge, tall column standing, all covered with coral. And then you will see another column which is also standing, and further down you will see the third column that's standing there.
Standing columns underwater, geological anomalies, or man-made structures. Previous attempts to raise the columns out of the water to see what lies under the coral growth have so far failed, leaving speculation wide open. There is, however, no discounting the location of these columns right at the edge of Nan Madol.
That's what the legend has it, that these columns were put there as a marker or symbol of the gateway towards the underwater city.
Scientific proof of an underwater city would require sonar, deep diving, and core drilling equipment. Until then, the mysterious connection between the columns of coral and the Nan Madol complex on the surface endures. Scientists do know that by 1500 AD, Nan Madol had reached its peak, a flourishing ceremonial center spread out across the 92 islets. In their stone complex, the ruling dynasty enjoyed a rich life, accepting tribute from the ordinary citizens on Pohnpei who lived to serve them. But Pohnpei history tells of a dark end to the glory of Nan Madol, that as time passed, the rulers began to abuse their power and that their subjects rose up to overthrow them. 500 years ago, a new dynasty took over. Nan Madol was abandoned forever, leaving behind only obscure myths and superstitions.
Many tombs is believed to contain the living spirit of the ancestors, so most of Pohnpeians will not approach this place at night. I continue to be scared every time I come here. One of these days I will get over my fear, but so far not yet.
Despite its dark secrets, Nan Madol continues to inspire people like Rufino Mauricio.
It's a place of learning for me. It's a place that I respect, and it's a place that represents what the Pohnpeians were like and continue to be like. People who can do great things, I think.
If Nan Madol remains an enigma to the world, it's partly because of its distant location in the far-off Pacific Ocean. Many famous archaeological sites eluded discovery for centuries, entirely covered up until excavations revealed their grandeur. Aztec pyramids in Mexico, the ziggurats of Mesopotamia, Machu Picchu in Peru. It's enough to make us wonder what other archaeological marvels lie hidden out there. This lure of buried treasure drives one archaeologist on a tireless hunt through the Andean highlands of Peru. UCLA archaeologist Chip Stanish is on a quest for ruins he thinks he's located from maps and aerial photos. He spends most of his time tracking links to the past in the barren region around Lake Titicaca. This is an archaeological frontier. Until recently, these highlands were off limits, controlled by a terrorist group called the Shining Path.
To the best of my knowledge, no professional archaeologist has ever worked up in this particular area, so it's all new to me.
But conquering new territory is the first step in Chip's archaeological treasure hunt.
And that's to simply drive around, walk around, just to see what's out there. Found a couple pieces, but doesn't mean anything. I love the reconnaissance part. That's really the most fun. You never know what's over the next hill. You find one site, you get all excited, something new no one else has ever found. And then you get to go run over the next hill and find another one, and that's really the fun part. Go over here. Why not? Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes. ¿Cómo está?
Chip never leaves home without his stash of coca leaves, as common as aspirin, and sold in most markets in Peru.
Coca is real important here, and it's just a sign of respect, and it's a way in which you start conversations.
Coca. Hey. Gracias.
¿Por qué? That's just the way it's done here. It's just a good courtesy.
The altitude here is close to 14,000 feet, so taking just one step causes heavy breathing. But Chip doesn't let it slow him down.
You have to be able to say you did the hill. You can't leave without doing the whole hill.
Chip scours these hills for clues to one of Peru's many lost civilizations, a culture called the Pucara,